The Honest Garage Podcast, where real shop owners tell real shop stories.
Today on the Honest Garage Podcast, we're talking with a shop owner who treats his business like a ministry and his team like family. Chris Whited is the managing partner and future sole owner of Community Auto in Fort Collins, Colorado, a family-owned shop that's been taking care of drivers since the mid-90s and puts the emphasis on care, not just repair. Chris's path to the owner's chair is not your typical grew up in a shop story. He started in automotive as a teenager under a mentor named Gary, stepped away for 11 years to serve as a pastor, and then came back to the industry, eventually buying into Community Auto and working with founder Eric Warrington. Along the way, that mix of shop experience and ministry work completely reshaped how he thinks about leadership, money, and people. Today, Community Auto is an employee-first shop. 4-day work weeks, hourly pay with bonuses instead of flat rate, 100% paid health insurance with HSA help, profit sharing, and plans to help team members become homeowners. Integrity isn't a slogan. Chris says it shows up in how we diagnose, how we communicate. Even in the stories where they chose to lose money to do what's right, integrity's there. He's also been part of a wider industry conversation about building trust through community involvement and employee care, not gimmicks. In this episode, we're going to dig into how Chris went from a troubled youth to pastor to shop owner and what it really looks like to run an employee-first business in this industry, and how integrity can actually be a growth strategy instead of a liability. Chris, welcome to the Honest Garage Podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, David. It's my privilege to join you, and I'm excited to have this conversation.
Yeah, thanks. I'm really happy to have you on the show and appreciate you taking the time. I think our listeners are going to get a lot of value after our last conversation as an indicator. For those of us who don't like listening to my long-winded introductions on these things, give us a little bit of a background before Community Auto and before pastoring. There's the early chapter in your story where working in a garage as a teenager with Gary, after a hard season in your life. Can you take us back there and talk about what that experience was like, how it shaped how you see the work and responsibility in people today?
Yeah, part of working with Gary, so as a teenager, I was a troubled youth, made a lot of bad choices. And one of those choices led to me stealing a car and got a car accident. A young lady was tragically killed. And I was a young 14-year-old kid. And so my parents, seeing that I needed some sort of structure, took me over to Gary's house. And Gary was a truck driver, drove truck with my dad, the same company. And they just took me there, and I just, every Saturday, every Sunday, I would just do whatever Gary told me to do. And I remember changing brakes on just like his wife's car to the first motor we put in was a 400 into a 71 GTO. I fit underneath the car. I was a small 14-year-old kid. And so it was just like, get underneath there and pull those bolts out and loosen that and situate this jack. And I just did what I was told. But a lot of it was just like, what shaped me in that was Gary's care for me. He never brought up what had happened in my life. He never really talked about that. He just treated me like I was, like nothing had ever happened. And that was different for me. Everybody, we grew up in a small town in Wisconsin. The news is, you're a minor, we can't put your name out there, but there was nobody in our town that didn't know who I was and what had happened. Gary didn't care. Gary just treated me like any other person, and then he'd take me to stuff. It was Saturday, Fort Atkinson had one of the largest car shows and swap meets of the year, and we showed up Saturday morning, and we didn't fix anything. We got in a truck and we drove to the car show, and we looked at cars all day, and we walked on the swap meet and found what we needed. And that just got me into this love of just messing with cars. And I never thought of it as a career. That's what got me a passion for it.
Yeah, I think that's how a lot of us got started in the industry. And even those of us who are not actual technicians, but we just have a love for the cars. I know going to car shows with my dad as a kid was something I really enjoyed doing, or going out to the racetrack. And there's just so much fun in that. And I think if you catch that bug early, it's hard to shake.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, getting kids into it. I've got a nephew now that loves them, and he's 18 years old and has 4 cars already. So it's, yeah, none of them run, but he's got 4 cars.
See, he's going to single-handedly start shaping that tech shortage that we keep hearing about.
That's right.
So you stepped away from automotive for 11 years to be a full-time pastor. And you described the shop as your ministry to us on the last call that we had. And I'm curious, what pulled you back to this industry, and how does the ministry background for 11 years show up in the way that you lead the company now?
Yeah, so it's a little bit twisted in there. I spent 23 years total in ministry. The first 12 years, I was working for shops, worked at a diesel repair shop, did over the road trucks, that sort of thing, and then volunteered at the church as a youth pastor. And then I spent 11 years full time in ministry. When I left, I actually wasn't looking to leave. I left Nebraska, moved back to Colorado to be closer to family, and God closed that door. I couldn't find a church. I couldn't even get an interview, which to me is crazy because there's a huge pastor shortage, just like there's a huge tech shortage. There's a lot of churches that just closed because they don't have anybody to be in there, but that just wasn't there. And so I went back. I actually worked for a dealership for a year, hated every minute of it personally. I was ready to leave. I was looking for something else outside of auto. And I met Eric. And Eric was already running the shop on this idea of this is how I take care of people. This is how we watch after our customers. I remember the first time I talked with a customer about an issue, a noise issue that we didn't quite handle the noise that they thought we were going to handle, even though we handled a noise. I was almost defending the company. And Eric was like, nope, that's not what you're here for. We're here to take care of customers. We're not here to defend the company. I'm the owner. I'll defend the company. You defend the customer. And that kind of became, I saw something different. And then he started giving me opportunities of, hey, what do you think we can do for our guys better? And this was just as the service manager. And I was like, let's figure something out. How can we give them this? How can we give them that? And Eric always said to me when he hired, he says, one, I want to pay you more and work you less. And I just don't, we just got to figure out how to do that. And he was like, that became one of my assignments as a service manager. I had to find a way to pay guys more, yet require less of them, of their hours. And that's how we ended up at a 4-day work week. We just found a way to do it. And when we did that, it cost us because guys were used to working, we were already hourly. Guys were used to working 44 hours a week and getting 4 hours of overtime. With 410s, guys were only working 40, maybe 41. So they were losing 3 hours of overtime. So we just had to, the first year, we just bonused them every single week. We just bonused them the 3 hours of overtime. And then once we knew the 4-day work week was going to be permanent and was never going to change, we had just adjusted all their pay up to make it so they were making the same money they were before. And so it cost us. Basically, everybody got an automatic pay raise and also got a 3-day weekend. So that was kind of awesome.
Yeah, pay them more, work them less. I think you sound like you succeeded. How was that received at first by the techs, and how was that received by others in the industry? I know you're a part of some shop owner groups and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Curious what the feedback was, both from the tech side and the other shop owner side.
Techs were excited at first. The first month was super rough. If I ever did it again, I'd be like, let's start this in like May. We started in November, which of course it's dark at 4:30. And so we took their hours. They worked basically 8 to 5, and we took that and made it 7:30 to 6:30. And you're like, okay, now you got this. Now you're going home late, and it's already dark out. And so that was a little rough. But after the first month, so we did this. We had the first month, and then we actually had our Christmas party like a month and a half into it. And we were talking about it, like, hey, we think this will be a permanent thing. And every wife went, if you change it back, they'll never find your body. And I was like, wait, what? And they were like, yeah, you are not allowed to ever go back to a 5-day work week. If you go back, we're gonna find you and we're gonna kill you. And I was like, okay, yep. It really doesn't matter what your husband has to say. The wives, all the wives were like, we love this. We got 3 days with our. This is awesome. And so now, guys, we talk about it. Guys are like, no, I don't know if I could go back. I'm not sure I could go work somewhere else. This would be so hard. And so they love it. In the industry, it was a very weird pushback. I've talked to a bunch of guys in groups and at conferences that were like, oh, it's horrible. Like, why would you do that? You're throwing money away. I'm cutting back to 4 days, and I'm talking to guys that were like, oh, I'm going back to a full Saturday. We're going to have a full day Saturday. And I'm like, man, why? It's just, I don't see it. And it's part of it is I got different goals. My goals have very little to do with having more money or having a second shop or having, that's not success to me. And so that's part of it. That's part of where the ministry comes in, because The ministry is not about being bigger, better, badder. It's about caring for people and watching them be successful in life.
Absolutely. Let's pause that for just a second. I want to revisit where you said that you are having guys who don't know if they could convert back to that 5-day work week, right? As far as that goes, did you know that it was going to be a recruiting advantage and help with tech turnover or anything like that? Was that part of where your brain was at, or was
No,
that just a happy accident?
that was a joyful thing. I thought, yeah, did I think this is going to be great and guys are going to love it? Yeah, I really thought that, but I never really thought like when I advertised for a job and it says 4-day work week, how many people were going to respond? Okay. Oh, can I come there? Can I come work for you? Can I? And we recently had a guy leave and we hired a new tech. When I first put it out there and just put out a video advertisement, hey, we're hiring 4-day work weeks, I was getting guys from all over the country that were like, are you serious? Do you really only work for? What would be the situation? What's the cost of living in Colorado? We're in Tennessee. I was like, you really want to move across the country? And we had a couple of those conversations. So it really was a joyful accident. I really did not be 100% planned. This is what I'm going to do. But it just like, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's an absolutely awesome, like, happy accident, right? In a world where we are dealing with a technician shortage and everything else that's happening, it turns out that it's really expensive to hire and train and onboard new technicians. And I would imagine on the business side of things, you've come out ahead of the game by not having to hire as often
Right.
and just retaining techs that already fit in with the culture.
Yeah. And even the small thing of like really not advertising. When we have a tech leave, I just tell the other guys, hey, we're hiring again or we're looking. And you don't have to advertise. You don't have to throw anything up. This last time we did for a little bit, but I think I put an Indeed ad up for 2 weeks and that was it. And we were done. And yeah, it just really takes care of itself.
That's fantastic. So sorry for any of the recruiters in the industry that are out there listening, but I think we may have found a hack for any of the other shop owners who
Yeah.
are considering making that change. You mentioned that you had some different goals than other shop owners when they were receiving your information. I'm curious, you dug into the ministry aspect of that, and that leads your goals to be different. What are your goals? I want to touch on that before we move on.
Yeah. My goals are 3 of my employees have young kids, like young kids, and then the other 2 of us have older kids, and then one of us has none right now. I want them to be great parents. I want them to be like ever present in their kids' lives. Like I know that with my own son and that my own family, I was wrapped up in work, doing both ministry and running a shop. Or when I got into ministry, I was so happy to finally get into it. I just kind of gave everything and look back now and I go, I made mistakes. I could have been a better parent. I could have been a better dad. I could have been more present. And so one of my main goals is that these guys and gals are great parents. Everybody always says you're sitting on your deathbed. Nobody's going to go, man, I wish I wouldn't have taken that extra day off. I wish I'd have worked 40 more hours. Life would have been so much better. If I'd had a little more overtime, life, no, it's one of our guys, he calls and it was Halloween and his daughter's in preschool and they were doing a preschool parade through a nursing home. And he was telling me about it. And I'm like, so what time are you leaving to go to it? And he's, oh, I was going to talk to you about that. I'm like, yeah, when are you going? Do you need to leave for a couple hours? Do we need to trade work days off so you can go? How do we need to work this out? Now we're coming into Christmas and honestly, that's one of our scheduling things is, okay, hold on. When's Alan's daughter's Christmas show? When's Marita's daughter's Christmas show? When we got to find these out so we can schedule properly around them. It's not, hey, make sure you record that so I can watch it later.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And we've done a lot of talk, I think, on the employee side now. I want to shift to a customer focus. You shared some stories with us before about the shop refunding work or eating costs because it was just the right thing to do, even when you technically fixed something that the car needed.
Yep.
And I think a lot of shop owners really struggle with your car did need that. We are going to get paid for that work. I'm curious, how do you define integrity inside of your shop? And can you share a moment where doing the right thing like hurt in the short term, but really paid off in the long run? I think, especially for some of the new guys who are getting into the industry and they're afraid about short term profit.
Yeah. Integrity allows it's doing what you say you're going to do. And standing up, it's doing what's right when no one else is looking. That had a lot to do with integrity. And really, so one of the instances we had is we had a gentleman come in, had a noise, and our guys looked at it. And some of this is proper training. It comes down to how do you train your people. It's changed a lot of how we train our people. Comes in, got a noise, great. We bring it in the shop, we look at it, needs a transfer case. It's a Jeep, needs a transfer case. The transfer case is the output shaft is literally has half an inch of movement. It's just bouncing up and down. Not a problem. We can hear this noise all day long in the air. We fix it. Guy picks it up, comes back a couple days later and says, "Hey, my noise is still there. I don't notice it in town, but I notice it on the highway." And we're like, "Oh, did something else go wrong?" Put it in the air, no noise, can't find it. Go for a ride with the guy down the highway. He's got big, aggressive tires. It's a Jeep. It's tire noise. And it just starts out about 50 mile an hour. It gets really bad and really loud, and you can hear it. He's like, "That's the noise." And it's like, "Yeah, you need tires." He's like, "That's the noise. I brought it for you." And we were like, "No, we found this noise." He couldn't hear that noise over the tire noise. And so we fixed something that it needed, but we didn't fix what he asked us to fix. And we told him we were fixing what he asked us to fix, and we didn't do it. So we refunded his money. The cost of doing the transfer case was about the same as putting tires on the thing. So we were like, we can either A, we'll order you tires, we'll put tires on it for you, or B, we can give you your money back and you get the tires you want. And he chose that, and we did. But that was a moment of, hey, we need to ask better questions. We need to be more, because we didn't, it's our fault. And the integrity is, even though we fixed something that clearly needed to be fixed. Like we could have put tires in this thing, and a week later, he'd have been back going, "There's a new noise." Yeah, I can hear it now. So we took care of it. Now, in the long term, he comes back to us. We still fix things on his truck. He refers people to us. And that's where we see it more than anything else. We see people come and go, "Oh, so and so told us we should come back to you. Greg said we need to come over to you to get it done." We're a lot of my referrals, funny enough, are from Grease Monkey and Valvoline, and they refer anytime it's check engine light, brakes, fluids, anything beyond the oil change, they send them to us. And they go, "Oh, you're finished?" Yeah. And honestly, we always joke about it. A local Grease Monkey, we fix all of the owners' and employees' cars. Anything past what they're normally doing, they're like, "Well, take it over." Because we treat them right, and we're going to do what's right.
Yeah, I think for everybody else listening, there's probably another little nugget in there. Don't look at some of these quick lube places as competitors as much as they might become partners for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, for some new shop owners who might be struggling to get oil changes in the door, talk to the oil change shop and have them send you AC work or brake work and see how that doesn't impact your business over the course of the next couple of
Oh,
months.
yeah. And learn to care for them. One of the sort we talk about with just what's doing what's right is we had Valvoline for a while. We were doing probably an oil pan once or twice a month because they were just over tightening them. They were stripping them out, causing a leak. One of the things we do with our new employees is any new employee has to use an inch pound wrench to tighten every one. I don't care if you've been doing it for 20 years. I want to see you do it. I want to know that you can feel that. And so I called the owner and said, "Hey, bud, how about you do this? Like it costs me money. I could have stayed out of it and just done oil pan after oil pan." I called the owner and I said, "Here's what I would do. If you want, I've got it. I've got one in my box. You guys are welcome to it." And we did. And we met with him. We talked, gave him the whole plan how to do it. He taught his employees. We haven't done one in almost 2 years.
That's great.
And we've done other work for them that they've run into. They refer everyone over to us because it wasn't about them being competition. There's enough work for all of us to do. Stop bashing somebody else. If we can lift everybody up, that's where we want to be.
Absolutely. That community first mindset, that abundance mindset is not as common as I think a lot of the people who listen to this show and who are on this show wish it was. It's great to see guys like you out there really pushing that forward, boots on the ground in the industry. That's fantastic. I'm gonna shift gears a little bit here. I know that you're in the process of fully taking over the shop from Eric, and he's already mostly stepped back. As you look ahead to being 100% owner, what are the big moves that you want to make for the people and for the community once the buyout money starts flowing back to the team?
When buyout money flows back to team, we're going raises. Yeah, I'm excited for what we can do when I don't have to pay that other bill and go, hey, our profit share is going to go up. We're going to have some fun. We're going to get guys in housing programs, and we're going to get a couple of our employees that don't own homes are going to own homes, and we're going to figure it out. And I'm excited to do stuff like that. We've got a little extra base space that we're talking about converting. We want to do more with our local high school. We just had a high school we had them in for the whole day, 2 different classes, and we messed around with engines and we tore stuff apart and just stuff that they couldn't do. And we want to do more of that. And I want to be able to have be able to invest some time to be able to tell one of my guys, like, hey, you're not going to flag anything. You're not going to make any money for the shop today. You're going to spend all day with a high school kid doing an internship, and you're just going to spend time teaching this guy and learning. And I want to be able to do more and more of that, because that's part of me. That's a passion for me. I love kids. I was a youth pastor. That's what I like to do. Herding cats is a wonderful occupation. And so I want to get more involved in that. I'm excited to play around in that kind of realm of being able to have a little more freedom.
That's fantastic. I know part of why you came to the shop you're at now is because of the way that Eric did business, not changing the foundation or the values that brought you in, doing more of it and giving more back, right?
Yeah, that's like the term I think I've used with you is Eric laid the track. I'm just driving the train.
Yeah.
And so all that's laid out in front of me. All I have to do is push forward. And so I'm just shoveling coal as fast as I can to drive down that road of blessing, changing people's lives and being a blessing, whether it's customers or whether it's employees.
That's absolutely fantastic to hear. One of the things that we ask everybody that comes on the show is what is the term honest mechanic or honest shop owner or honest garage? What does that really mean to you and what you've seen in the industry? And can you just talk to that a little bit?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is that an oxymoron? Kind of like military intelligence.
Oh no.
But I think, and I would argue, the industry as a whole has earned its reputation for not being honest. And I see that when things come in and we look at stuff and it's like, you don't really need that. And so to me, honest mechanic is someone who is with integrity making recommendations according to the customer. It's not pushing to sell just because your additive company gives you a kickback and you push hard on that, or you want your RO to be that extra $80 higher, so you're pushing this service or that service. Or no, don't get me wrong, regular maintenance and good service work is what longevity of a vehicle. But it's also being in integrity. That's an oil seepage, and we don't need to pull your transmission and do a rear main for something that's wet, that's not leaking, that's not on the ground, especially with a customer that's going, hey, I'm going to fix income and I can't afford that, and then pushing it down their throat. That's not honesty. That's not integrity. That's greed. And so when you start putting people before profit, when you start putting employees before a new shop, when you start looking at life a little bit different, that Eric always said, we're all here to help other people. We just happen to be good at working cars. So that's how we help. And we're able to make a living doing it too.
That's fantastic, man. I love that mentality of putting people first and of we're all here to help people. You just happen to do it by fixing cars. We do it by giving people a platform to share their story on this podcast, or on the marketing side of what we do it by helping with the marketing stuff. God's given us all a gift, and it's up to us to use it, hopefully to serve him. And so I think that's a really good way to put that. So one of the things I want to do real quick is just thank you again for taking the time to come on the show today. And I want to give you an opportunity, if you're willing, to share some contact info. If people have more about that implementation of the 4-day work week, or if they have questions about anything that you guys are doing different, is there a good way for people to contact you and connect with you outside of the show where you would be willing to have a conversation with people?
Absolutely. You guys can put this on the screen so they can see it. But as you can tell, you've asked very few questions, and I have talked for 30 minutes straight, and I do not have an issue speaking at all. But you can reach out to me personally at my email, which is chris@communityautoinc.com. Feel free to call the shop. 970-484-7556 is our shop number. You can find our website, communityautoinc.com. There's a contact button. You can click that. It'll go to my staff. It'll get it over to me. And I'm happy to have this conversation with anybody. It's one of the things I do enjoy doing is sitting down with other shop owners. I've got a guy down in Broomfield that we meet on a regular. We talk about these things of like, how do we make this different? How do we run our shop different? And I love doing that. And that's something I want to expand out. I think that's something I have a talent for and a gift for is coaching and being in front of people. And so I would like to do this a little bit more as I make my own shop do it and I'm experiment here, then give it to somebody else that's, hey, I've already proved this works, rather than, hey, let's give it a shot and see if we both fail. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. That's really generous. And I love the fact that you can use your own shop as a test case before hard launching more fake guru stuff that I don't think the industry needs.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's make sure it works. Let's make sure we're adding value, and then let's share it out there.
Yeah.
I think that mentality is probably needed more across this industry. So I think for today's conversation, that's going to wrap up today's episode. And again, just a huge thanks to Chris for taking the time to stop by and talking about what's really working in the shop. And I just want to say, if you got value from the conversation, connect with Chris, follow this podcast, share it with another shop owner, subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. Leave us a review. It helps other people find us and find this show and helps get the word out. And if you need more resources and real world marketing help, as always, reach out to Honest Mechanic Marketing or scan the QR code there on the screen. And thanks for listening. For all of our listeners, keep it honest in the garage.
More on the personal side, it makes me do stretch a little bit more. That's not my normal personality to be on the radio. So it's very good. It's actually, it's helped in getting to know people and what their needs and what their feelings are on their repairs and their concerns. And sometimes we're too much in the shop. We know what we're doing and stuff like that. We don't take what they're going through. I've learned personally, we used to try to fix things for the customer, for some of the Love Inc. people. That seemed to work better if I just gave them money. Honestly,
Yeah.
It works better for us. We fix cars. We do that. We're better at that kind of retail. When we start doing charity stuff on cars, it doesn't work as well for me.